Good morning. Welcome to Montgomery County Now. My name is Jeff Smith, the sheriff for Montgomery County. Today is Tuesday, May 14th. Welcome. We got a great show for you today. As usual, we're going to stick with the same platform. We're going to talk about the important things that we've done here at the sheriff's office and out in the community the past couple weeks. We got a great guest with us today. It's Sarah Branco, the Director of Mental Health for Montgomery County. It's Mental Health Awareness Month for the month of May. And then we're going to share community events. So happy to have you here and appreciate you joining us. We look forward to having an awesome show on Montgomery County Now.
Welcome to Montgomery County Now, made of something stronger. The podcast that brings you the latest news, interviews, and a glimpse into the future with Sheriff Jeff Smith. Get ready to dive into the heart of Montgomery County and discover what makes it truly special. From community updates to thought-provoking conversations, this podcast is your window into the pulse of our county. So grab a cup of coffee, sit back, and join us on this captivating journey with Sheriff Jeff Smith.
All right, as stated before, Tuesday, May 14th. Wow, where has May gone? Half of May is gone already. It's been a busy couple weeks here at the sheriff's office. I want to share some of those things with you. Obviously, this past weekend was Mother's Day. Can't avoid that. Can't go without saying Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. Appreciate everything you do. For without you, we wouldn't be here. And the work you do each and every day, especially the moms here at our office, work especially hard and spend their Mother's Day here working at times. It's National Police Week, so we certainly want to thank our patrol deputies that are out there each and every day, partnering with you in the community and doing what's right. This past weekend, we held some swiftwater training. We belong to a regional swiftwater training team, which is Hamilton, Fulton, Montgomery, and Schoharie counties. And they do a great job. They take specialty training, and it's one of those things that we hope we never need, but we have 6 members of our office that are trained and part of that team. And if we need them, they're there, they're ready to respond, and they do a great job. It's Motorcycle Awareness Month. As the weather continues to get better and more motorcycles are appearing out on our highways, we want you to please pay attention to them. We say this every week, every other week when we do our show about the rules of the road and paying attention and slowing down and taking your time. Just remember that motorcycles are more difficult to see, and sometimes that's part of the problem when we're out there sharing highways with them. So be courteous and be cautious and be careful. We've had numerous large arrests. We made a large arrest for welfare fraud recently, the sale of an illegal gun out of the village of Nelliston recently, and unfortunately we had a large event at the Amsterdam High School where there was an altercation with numerous students, and we ended up charging 9 students. That's very important. The safety and security of our students and our staff and our community, certainly in a school setting, is of the utmost importance. But just arresting those students is not enough. We're also partnering with the school and working on ways with our community partners and law enforcement partners how to better communicate with these students and parents and assist them in making better decisions and life skills and doing things to try to rectify these things from happening again and work on the problems and just together, hopefully we can make a difference. We participated in a basketball fundraiser. The sheriff's office played the Fultonville Central School staff the other night to help raise money for one of the classes. Bad news is we lost. Good news is everybody walked out of there without any assistance from EMS, so that was a plus. We attended the Highway Trade Show recently down here at the Fonda Fairgrounds. Our highway superintendents and our DPW commissioners throughout Montgomery County were there. They do a tremendous job. They're a big partner of ours, and a bunch of equipment on display, and that brings a bunch of people, like-minded people, together to help purchase things and see things and get other ideas on how to take care of our highways and our roads and bridges. So that's important. We had staff that provided a bicycle safety class to a Cub Scout group here at our office. That was well attended and well received. It's very important for those youngsters out there riding bicycles to understand what the rules are and how to be safe in and out and around traffic, that's for sure. It was Teacher Week and Nurse Week. Those are 2 very important professions that also partner with us. And it was also Correction Officer Week. We're super proud of our correction officers and the work that they do each and every day here in the facility. They have a very difficult job, and many times they are forgotten because they work behind the walls here at the office, but I can tell you that they're very, very important. They do a great job, and they're one of the backbone items of this entire office. So thank you to them. It was firefighter day last week. Our volunteer firefighters throughout the county are, top notch. I've said it all my entire career. I am a volunteer firefighter and I partner with them frequently, but they are the best of the best. And when we're home sleeping or we're off at work or we're off having fun with our families, the fire alarm rings and volunteers respond and they do a great job for us. We should certainly respect them every day. And as we mentioned, it's Mental Health Awareness Month. So you can see this past couple weeks, our office was extremely busy. And again, we always say that has nothing to do with the general calls for service that come in each and every day, the accidents, the complaints of speed and erratic driving, the 911 calls and the response to different businesses and community members throughout that need our assistance. So men and women are very busy. We love serving our community. We love serving our public. And that's just a little snapshot of what happens here on a daily basis. So, all right, let's welcome our guest today, one of our phenomenal partners and somebody who's very important to us and helps not only the Montgomery County Sheriffs, but our entire community on a regular daily basis. That's Sarah Branco, the Montgomery County Mental Health Coordinator. She's also the Public Health Director, but in her mental health capacity, it's something that we deal with her on a regular basis, and she's phenomenal and a great partner. And Sarah, we welcome you here today.
Well, thank you, Sheriff. Thank you for having me today. As you said, my role as the mental health director is really why I'm here today, because May is a very, very important month. Not only was this past weekend Mother's Day, which is very important to all of us for a number of reasons, but the main reason I'm here today is to talk about May being Mental Health Awareness Month across the nation and in other parts of the world as well. And I'm really excited to talk to you and our community today about some different things that are happening within the mental health world, and to offer some support and some resources to our community on a couple of different mental health topics.
That's great. Sarah, you and your team do such a great job and support us, so tremendously. There's a big push locally for us and first responders, especially for the mental health of staff. And you've provided numerous trainings on how to take care of ourselves, but better yet, to turn that around and try to help take care of our community members. So the floor is yours. Tell us about what you do and how you do it. And we all know how important it is. So I'm looking forward to hearing all the facts and details.
Wonderful. Yes, thank you. So I'm glad you brought that up, Sheriff, about taking care of ourselves, because, if you've ever been on an airplane, they always tell you to put your mask on first, right? So that you can help the person sitting next to you. And oftentimes we forget, as people in the helping field, that we need to take care of ourselves in order to help other people. We often get put on autopilot, and people think that, oh, well, you're a therapist or you're a police officer or you're a first responder, so this is just what you do. But we often hear from those in the helping field or in various professions that you get very burnt out and you get very tired. And a lot of people over the past couple of months, and I would say the past couple of years, you mentioned the pandemic, we've seen a huge spike in folks being diagnosed or reporting anxiety symptoms, or symptoms of what they think are anxiety and panic. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about what is anxiety, what is panic, and how do we take care of ourselves, because we all experience a little bit of anxiety at different points in our life. If anybody was ever starting a new job, you might feel a little bit nervous, you might be a little anxious. A lot of kids, when they're applying for colleges or when they're taking a big test, they report to feeling worried or feeling anxious about about not doing well or not performing at their best level. Even professional football players, hockey players, you hear about them vomiting before a big game because of anxiety and nerves. So I really like to talk about what is that anxiety and what it looks like. And as a clinician myself, I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I always would teach my clients and people I worked with that anxiety is really a constant, irrational fear that isn't based in reality. So people will often say, I'm really nervous, I'm really anxious. Well, why? Well, if I don't pass this test, my life is going to be over. Well, we know that that's not rational. Not passing one test is not going to, force somebody's life to be over. It might be very damaging, it might be very upsetting. But that fear of an unknown factor is really where that anxiety stems from. And I think when we're looking at our community and we look at our areas of employees, our students, our athletes, a lot of people report to feeling that way because it's really a fear of an unknown. And I think one area that you and I always talk about, Sheriff, is when we're putting out alerts to our community for things like floods or weather related illnesses. I often joke about I'm not sure why during the pandemic our natural response was to go out and buy toilet paper. But that's what I mean about that irrational fear. There's something happening, and people hold on to or grasp onto something that isn't necessarily connected, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's harder for the general person to understand some of this because we don't necessarily do it for a living and haven't been trained and have the education like you do. But I always try to stress to our staff, you never know what's going on in someone else's life. So just, be respectful of that and remember that. And as you talk about anxiety, you don't know how different people will react to different situations. So your explanation is spot on for someone like me listening.
Yeah. And it manifests in different ways. So when we're looking at somebody who's anxious, some people might feel a really rapid heartbeat. They might start to feel lightheaded. Some people have said to me, Sarah, whenever I start to feel really anxious, I get really hot and sweaty. But other people will start to feel cold and clammy and their skin feels really tight. And I remember somebody telling me one time that their hands would swell and their fingers would feel like little sausages, like they were going to pop. And I always thought about that in a way of that physical manifestation of anxiety and how it really does impact your body. Other people will have terrible abdominal pain. They'll have, explosive diarrhea or frequent urination. They might not be able to breathe, and it really does, it hurts. That anxiety really hurts their body in a physical way. Other people will have changes in eating patterns, sleeping patterns. Sometimes people would say to me, Sarah, I just can't get enough sleep. I'm so anxious that when I do sleep, I can't really get a deep sleep. But the folks that I often worry about, Sheriff, are people who don't have the ability to get themselves to a place where they find any kind of joy or happiness once they're done feeling anxious. So when we're looking at anxiety and we're looking at what it looks like and how it feels from start to finish, if we time it for people, it really is anywhere between 3 to 12 minutes is your average um, episode of anxiety in that minute. It feels forever to some people, but really, if we were to time it for people, it's that 3 to 12 minute window. What can happen once somebody is done feeling that anxiety and that physical symptom is they get the emotional, what I call hangover, where their body is just exhausted. They feel, um, that all they want to do is sleep, or the opposite happens. They get really revved up and they feel like they have all of this pent up energy that they need to get rid of and sort of dump someplace. But the folks that can't get themselves out of those anxiety episodes to really focus on something that needs to get done or something that they need to do next, or find a way to channel that energy into something positive. For me, those are always very big areas of concern. Um, and sometimes people will say, I can't do it. I'm too cranky. I'm too irritable. Um, and when we're looking at that irritability, or we're looking at somebody who is constantly in that mood of being cranky, that can really impact how we work, how we live, how we parent, um, and how we interact with our community. And I'm sure you've seen folks, as your career in law enforcement, where people might be just a little moody, or they might say really mean things to you, and then afterwards, once they've come out of that state, they might say, I'm really sorry. I was so upset. I didn't even know what I was saying. I didn't know that I was being so terrible.
Yeah, I mean, that does happen frequently, and, when you talk about first responders or anybody from the community experiencing situations like this, our call volume certainly has increased with these types of calls, and many times that may be the underlying factor with, like, domestic disputes or disturbances or someone just having a really bad day and acting in a strange manner where someone will call for assistance, and, it's how we learn from you to handle those things is what makes a huge difference in society and those people's lives because they have to be treated with respect and dignity. And if they need it, try to get them help. Or if it's just an episode that has passed, talking them through it and things like that. So I want you to know how valuable your trainings and how valuable your partnership is and the guidance that you give makes a difference, community wide.
Well, thank you. And I think one thing I want to help your listeners today understand is what they can do for themselves, because professional help is not always the answer, and it's not always what people need. When we're looking at somebody who has a chronic mental illness, those are definitely folks we want to get into verbal therapy. We want to assist them getting connected to treatment. We want to make sure that if they are on medication, that they are taking their meds appropriately. But I think folks with anxiety, there's a lot of suggestions and resources that we can help with that aren't necessarily going right into long-term forever and ever therapy or medication. Medication definitely does help with the episode, but what I teach people is about coping skills and what are things that we can do to help ourselves cope with how we're feeling, whether it's anxiety, depression, stress, or just everyday normal typical uh living stressors, whether it's going to work or relationships. And I think part of taking care of ourselves is really being able to identify what we're feeling. Sometimes people will say, I'm mad. Well, they're not mad, they're disappointed or they're angry. So, really allowing people to have the appropriate language to identify the feeling that they're feeling first. Sometimes people are just scared. And I think being able to say, I'm scared or I'm fearful, that's a really big strength. And I don't think as people, we honor that enough when somebody has the ability to admit that they're afraid or they're scared. So, helping people just identify those feelings is a really, really important tool when we're talking about folks who are struggling with anxiety, depression, mental health, but allowing them a safe space in which to talk about it. And Jeff, I've been with some of your officers before when we're working with folks who are struggling with mental health issues. And one thing that they've learned is to try and give people a safe space away from the episode. So if there are other folks watching or there's other people around, I've witnessed a lot of our law enforcement and first responders try and get the patient to a place where there's not an audience. So they really can feel safe in having those open conversations with folks that are there to help them. And I think we often don't feel safe when we are experiencing anxiety or depression. So that's a really good tool we can use with people, is getting them just to feel like they're not being made a spectacle of. So that's one thing we can do. But we can also offer folks some other resources. Finding out, do they like to sing? Do they like to draw? Is exercise a part of their daily life? If it's not, okay, well then what other things can we do? Do you journal? Sometimes people just need to take a shower, or they need to sit and turn off all of the noise. A lot of times, especially with youth and adolescents, we forget that all day long people are talking at them. They go to school, the teachers are teaching, the people around them are talking to them and talking and talking. And then they get home and their parents want to know, do you have homework? How was your day? Did you eat lunch? Do we have practice tonight? And our kids really don't ever get a chance to not be talked to and to have some of that quiet space. So just offering people a place where there's not a lot of commotion and there's not a lot of chaos can really assist with managing some of those symptoms of anxiety and giving people space to breathe. I'm very much a person that needs that space to breathe when I'm having a tough time. So I always try and offer that respect to other people.
Excellent advice. Excellent conversations and concepts, and hopefully, when people listen to the show, they can think about it and put themselves in their own situation with the words of wisdom that you've shared with us. Sarah, is there any phone numbers or any websites or anything if they get more than an anxiety episode and more than removing themselves and taking a minute to themselves, and they need something a little bit further? Is there phone numbers or websites that you can share for them to call
Abs-
to help?
Absolutely. The big one here locally that I always share with people is 518-842-9111. And that is our local hotline for substance abuse and mental health for people who are struggling. It is operated 24 hours a day by a licensed clinician that is there to answer your questions, to talk you through things that are happening. For some of our younger folks who don't necessarily want to talk via phone, you can always text 988, which is the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. And we do have a local chapter here in New York State that answers that 988 text or talk. But really, our 518-842-9111 number is our local resource. It's our local hotline. When you call that number, the people on the other line are from Montgomery and Fulton County, and they are going to really be able to talk to you about resources that exist here in the county. And they also have the capacity to get you connected to local resources. But again, not everybody is a talker. Some people like that text option. So if you're a texter, texting the 988 number is always a good resource and is available 24/7 as well.
Excellent, excellent. We encourage people to utilize those resources and services. And, at the end of our show, we always share our local phone number as well. And if you need us and you need to talk or text, same thing with our office. You can text the dispatch center instead of calling 911 if you're in an emergency situation. But together, if we continue to work together and communicate and educate and share important and vital information, hopefully we can make a difference in people's lives. Sarah, thank you so much for what you do. Thank you so much for joining us today on the show. This important month. Every month should be Mental Health Awareness Month, but I know we concentrate a little more on it in May because that's a designated one. But you're a special person and very important to all of us.
And the feeling is mutual, Sheriff. And thank you for everything you do in the years of support in providing such a robust mental health program with your law enforcement. I always am very proud when I go to state forums and I get to brag about how all officers go through our mental health first aid training, and that we have had 2 rounds of our crisis intervention training for law enforcement and mental health. That's unheard of in most parts of New York State, but that's because of your partnership. So thank you for that.
Well, you're welcome. It's definitely a team approach, and we just continue to try to do what's right, all of us together, and that's what makes a difference, and that's why Montgomery County is special. And I know we both have that same sentiment that it's made of something stronger. But this show is called Montgomery County Now, and it's about doing the right thing for our constituents and people that visit and travel it through. So
Absolutely.
thank you, Sarah
Thank you.
Franco.
Absolutely. Have a great day, Sheriff.
Honor to have you. Have a great day as well. All right, Sarah was a great guest. What an awesome job. I love talking to her. She's so knowledgeable, so good at her job, so good at what she does, and a great community partner. So, special thanks to her for joining us. Now we're going to share some public events that are happening throughout our county. We always want to see you and partner with you out in the community. We look forward to meeting you and seeing you out there and having a good time. One thing that we're going to share is Amsterdam Spring Fling is coming up May 18th. That's 11 a.m. and that's the rec department from the city of Amsterdam. Spring Fling is always very well attended, a big event. Mohawk Valley Polish Fest in St. Johnsville, May 18th at noon. Mohawk Valley Polish Fest, May 18th at noon in St. Johnsville. The 3rd annual craft fair at Below Zero Ice Cream in Palatine Bridge and Nelliston area. That's also May 18th at 1 o'clock. As you can see, May 18th is busy. We got something in Amsterdam, something in St. Johnsville, something in Palatine and Nelson. So busy day. Memorial Day events are coming up. These are going to happen prior to our next show, so I wanted to share those. On Sunday, the 26th, you have a parade in Tribes Hill and a breakfast at the Tribes Hill Fire Department. The parade is at 11:30. Breakfast is the morning before that. And then at 2 o'clock at the Florida Veterans Park, they have a phenomenal ceremony. If you haven't been to the Florida Veterans Park, you need to go. It is Washington, D.C. worthy, and it's something that is so impressive. There's a monument there for every conflict. There's 9/11 stuff. They do a great program, and it's something that you really enjoy. And then Monday on Memorial Day itself, the 27th, there's parades throughout the county. St. Johnsville, Fonda, Fultonville, Hageman, Glenn, and Charleston. And those start right at 9 o'clock in the morning, and there's events before the parades, and they run all the way through. Glenn's at noon, Hageman's at 11, and Charleston's at 4 o'clock. So, come out, be patriotic, support our veterans that have lost their lives and their families, that have paid the ultimate struggle so that we can experience our freedoms. And something that's super important to all of us, and something that we should certainly every day should be Memorial Day, and something that we should recognize our military men and women for their sacrifices and their families for the difficult times. And then the last thing we have is we're doing a fraud seminar at CEFCU up in the town of Amsterdam on May 30th. And that's from 1 to 3 p.m. That's something there we'll have staff on site, and we're partnering with CEFCU and just trying to educate people how to best protect themselves from fraud and scams, and so that they don't lose their hard-earned money. And unfortunately, that's something that happens each and every day, and education and communication is something that maybe will help limit the loss of these victims and hold the people that are responsible a little bit accountable. So join us at these events. I look forward to partnering with you. Hope you have a great day. Hope the weather starts to improve. We've been experiencing a lot of rain. Never forget to call us at 518-853-5500 for any of your needs. We're here to serve, and certainly 911 if you have an emergency. Thanks for joining us today on Montgomery County Now. Have a great couple weeks, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for tuning in to Montgomery County Now, made of something stronger. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and gained valuable insights from our interview and updates. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast to stay connected with Sheriff Jeff Smith and never miss an episode. Join us next time as we continue to explore the stories, people, and events that shape Montgomery County. Until then, remember, we are made of something stronger.